The Reformation was a 16th century religious and socio-political movement in Europe that aimed to reform the practices and authority of the Roman Catholic Church, ultimately leading to the establishment of various Protestant denominations and reshaping European society, politics, and religion. The Reformation, which began in the 16th century, was not the result of a single cause, but rather a culmination of several factors. One of the primary triggers was corruption in the church. By the 1500s, the Catholic Church was heavily involved in selling indulgences, which are payments that people believed would absolve them of sins. This practice, among others, created widespread dissatisfaction as it seemed to profit from people's faith and exploited their fears. Political tensions between monarchs and the Pope also played a crucial role. Kings and princes, increasingly powerful in their own right, resented the interference of the papacy in their political affairs. Many rulers desired greater control over religious matters within their territories, and this desire for independence from the Pope's authority helped fuel support for reform. Economically, the heavy taxation imposed by the church, as well as the accumulation of vast wealth by the clergy, further alienated both the peasantry and the emerging bourgeoisie. The church's wealth contrasted sharply with the poverty of many common people, creating resentment and a sense of injustice. The invention of the printing press was another significant factor. The press allowed the rapid and widespread distribution of ideas, including reformist ideas that challenged the church's authority. Thinkers like Martin Luther used this technology to publish works that criticized church practices and proposed alternative religious beliefs. Lastly, the ideas of humanism and Renaissance thought also played a role. The Renaissance emphasized the value of human reason, individualism, and a return to classical learning. These ideas encouraged critical thinking and a questioning of authority, including the authority of the church. In combination, these factors set the stage for the Reformation, a movement that would forever change the religious and political landscape of Europe. Martin Luther, a German monk and professor of theology, is widely recognized as the catalyst of the Reformation. In 1517, he wrote his famous 95 Theses, a list of criticisms against the Catholic Church, particularly the sale of indulgences, which he viewed as corrupt. Martin Luther's defiance was not just theological but also deeply political, challenging the papacy's authority. He famously nailed his thesis to the church door in Wittenberg, sparking widespread debate. The Catholic Church's initial response was to try to silence him, but the newly invented printing press allowed Martin Luther's ideas to spread far and wide, reaching much of Europe. His criticisms resonated with many who were frustrated by the church's corruption and its wealth. The movement soon gained momentum, with Martin Luther at its forefront, challenging the very foundation of the church's power. Protestantism is a branch of Christianity that emerged from the Reformation in the 16th century, rejecting the authority of the Pope and emphasizing direct access to the scriptures, individual faith, and salvation by grace through faith alone. It later developed into multiple branches across Europe, including Lutheranism, Calvinism, and Anglicanism. The Reformation quickly spread beyond Martin Luther's ideas as other reformers introduced their own versions of Christianity. Lutheranism, based on Martin Luther's teachings, rejected the authority of the Pope and emphasized salvation by faith alone. Meanwhile, John Calvin in Switzerland introduced his own system of belief, Calvinism, which included the controversial doctrine of predestination, the idea that God has already decided who will be saved. In Switzerland, Ulrich Zwingli also led reforms, rejecting traditional Catholic practices and promoting a simpler form of Christianity. Support for these new ideas was not only religious but also political, as many princes and kings saw the Reformation as an opportunity to gain independence from the Pope's influence. Over time, the Protestant movement spread across Europe, reaching France, England, and beyond, each adapting the Reformation to its own context. In response to the growing Protestant movement, the Catholic Church initiated its own set of reforms known as the Counter-Reformation. The most significant of these reforms was the Council of Trent, which sought to address issues within the Church and reaffirm Catholic doctrine. The Council reinforced the belief in the authority of the Pope and the importance of tradition, as well as rejecting Protestant principles like salvation by faith alone. A key group within the Counter Reformation was the Jesuits, founded by Ignatius of Loyola. The Jesuits played a critical role in spreading Catholicism worldwide, particularly through education and missionary work. The Church also intensified efforts to suppress Protestant ideas, using the Inquisition and publishing the Index of Forbidden Books to crack down on what they considered heretical writings. The Reformation had significant political consequences across Europe as religious tensions grew. Wars broke out, with one of the most devastating being the 30 Years' War, which devastated much of Central Europe. In 1555, the Peace of Augsburg allowed rulers within the Holy Roman Empire to choose whether their state would follow Catholicism or Lutheranism, formalizing the division of Christianity in Europe. In England, King Henry VIII's split from the Roman Catholic Church led to the creation of the Church of England. His desire for an annulment of his marriage to Catherine of Aragon led to a political and religious revolution that severed England's ties with the Pope. The Reformation also marked the decline of the papacy's political power and the rise of nation states, where rulers held more sway over their territories. The long term consequences of the Reformation were profound, setting the stage for the rise of secularism, the emphasis on individual rights, and the eventual development of modern political autonomy in Europe.